Hi everyone, my name's Claire Meredith and today I want to talk to you about moving through fear. When we're scared of doing something, when we're scared of taking the next step, fear can loom up as this big, crazy, emotional drama. It can just get out of hand in our heads and it can stop us moving forward and achieving the things we want to achieve and being happier and being more at peace. And so I want to talk to you about how I moved through fear. And I was in my corporate job and it was draining me. I knew I didn't want to stay there. I knew I had this big dream of going to Italy and having my own business and living differently, living more freely. And the next step for me was working part-time so I could work the other half of the week on my business. And my biggest fear was having a conversation about this with my boss. This absolutely terrified me. It was all the scenarios that could come up in my head. That she would get crazy angry, that she would laugh me out of the room, that she would fire me on the spot, that she would be disappointed with me, that she would feel like I was disloyal, that she would think I was ungrateful to her, that all that she'd done for me in the company so far. And I had this fear in my head, and even just thinking about doing it was making me shake. It was making me worry that once my secret was out, that was it, I couldn't go back. And I began to name these fears. I began to say to myself, okay, what is it that I'm scared of? What am I scared that's going to happen? What's the worst that could happen and what's the best that could happen? And as I got clear on that, I realized that my fear was reducing. As I got clear on the things that I was so scared that she was going to do to me or do what was going to happen, then they became less strong. They lost their power. And I realized that my boss is a reasonable person. She's unlikely to fire me on the spot. She's unlikely to get really angry with me. She's likely to listen to my request, even if in her head she is saying, "No way, Jose." And so beginning to name these fears really helped reduce that drama, and the fog kind of lifted a bit. And I realized that I had two outcomes that I wanted to, that could happen. One of them was her saying yes, and one of them was her saying no. And as I realized that these are the outcomes that could happen, I began to see a little bit further ahead. Okay, if she says no, what could I do? And at that point, I realized, okay, well, I could stay or I could leave. And then I asked myself the question, am I prepared to leave? Am I prepared to do this? Or am I prepared to stay and live with a bit of embarrassment for a while? And I decided I was prepared to do both of those things, but I was willing to tell her that I was ready to leave if I needed to be, because I couldn't predict how I was going to feel at the end of that conversation. And this lessened fear made it easier for me to plan the steps that I was going to take. I needed to email her and ask her for a meeting. I needed to plan out what I was going to say, and I needed to actually go in and do it. So I guess you're wondering what happened. Well, she said yes. She said no to the role, my current role being part-time. But there was a possibility of them carving out a new role for me in a part-time capacity at work. And so I look back now and I am so glad I took those steps. I'm so glad I named my fear. I'm so glad I could see through that and plan what would happen if, what could I do if. And I'm glad I took those steps and made it happen. So I hope this is encouraging for you today, that you can move through your fear and that it is possible and amazing things can happen on the other side. Thank you for watching.